Is Sabrina Carpenter setting feminism back 20 years? Hello, my name is Miriam. I never do sit-down videos that require me to do any sort of research, but I love Sabrina Carpenter and I love the topic of feminism, so this is what this video is about. So, let's get into the video. Also, I just wanted to give a quick disclaimer. If I'm looking to the side, I have like a script that I wrote. I've never done like a scripted video, so I don't like know how to like direct it, so that's why I keep looking over to the side. I have been a fan of Sabrina Carpenter since Disney, and I've loved seeing her growth in the music industry. It's been absolutely incredible. I've seen her in concert twice, and something I've noticed obviously since her Disney era is that yes, her vibe has definitely changed, and especially short and sweet, definitely focused on a lot about sex, but I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. Her music has been made so that she can empower more women, and I love her new era. It's so slay, it's so girl boss, and she's able to critique a lot of issues that women experience in her music and in her music videos, which I think is something that we need more of. So before we get into like the meat of the video, I wanted to create a little outline of the criticisms that I've seen so far. So we have the Man's Best Friend cover album cover. We have Juno poses, and specifically the Paris Juno pose in particular. And then we have the Lolita photo shoot. But I also wanted to talk a little bit about her music videos and how Sabrina is a satirist, whatever how you say it, with her music. And I feel like her message gets misconstrued because people like to hate successful women, but I'll get into that later. But yeah, so I do want to start off with focusing on her music videos and I think the messages that they try to convey. So maybe it is the fangirl in me that's talking, but I feel like her message is pretty clear to her audience, especially her main audience. People say that she appeals to the male gaze, but I don't think it's exactly true if you listen to her lyrics or even watch her music videos. So I think the main message is that women are mistreated by men and that women need to feel more empowered, which I think is a great message. I mean, we can start off the three videos that I wanted to focus on are Please, 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 Taste, and Man Child. So Please, Please, Please literally is about women giving men chances that don't deserve chances. And then all they ask for is just don't be stupid, don't mess up. Like, not even don't mess up, like don't be human, but like, don't embarrass me. Like, I've given you a second chance. Like, everyone knows that you're this bad person, but I'm giving you a second chance, so don't embarrass me. And literally the entire storyline is that she falls in love with the criminal and she's like, you gotta stop, like you can't keep doing this. And then he continues to embarrass her, and then eventually at the end she finally leaves him because she's like, oh yeah, you're gonna keep embarrassing me, like we're not doing this anymore. And like, it literally parallels her actual real life experience with Barry Cogan, which I think is really funny considering he's like the criminal in the music video, but like how he allegedly cheated on her and low-key kind of embarrassed her because she gave like the actor a chance. And she literally talks about that in the song, and with him being the criminal in the video, I think it's just really like, it is very telling about these experiences being not just like a one-time thing. These are consistent experiences that many people face. Second music video I wanted to focus on was Taste. It's literally about how women will hate the other girl. Like, they will hate the other girl instead of the man that cheated on them, that left them for another girl, even though the real bad guy is the boyfriend. And the whole music video is Jenna and Sabrina fighting over this guy because, well, he was mine first, well I have him now, blah 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 blah. And then they don't even realize that he's the villain until he's dead. And I think that's like a big critique, because I mean, you'll see so many stories of, well, I hate her because my boyfriend cheated on me with her, but she had no idea. It's only a case if she had no idea. So they'll hate the girl rather than the man, but it's like, that's not how it works. She's not the one that broke your trust, he did. So it's like, why do we continuously hate on other women when they aren't the ones causing the problem? It was the boyfriend that caused the problem. So I think that's a really interesting point. And then there's the Man Child music video, which essentially is that men are incapable of doing anything for themselves and getting themselves killed. Like, that's literally the entire gist, is like, are they slow? Are they stupid? Are they useless? Like, what is going on? Like, why can they not do anything for themselves? And it's like, now obviously this isn't like an all men situation. Obviously, I want to make that very clear that this is not a take on all men, but like, it is a very common theme. I mean, even in the Feather music videos, how men play themselves to care about women and want to help, but like, they're not helping, they're actually hurting us, and they end up getting killed. Same thing with Man Child, they end up getting killed. So does Taste, they end up getting killed. Like, the entire gist of Sabrina's music has always been like that men put on a front that they care about us, but then they really don't. They're kind of doing it for an ulterior motive, and then they end up hurting us and then subsequently themselves when they get killed, which I think is a message that I don't think a lot of people quite grasp when they look at Sabrina, because they look at her like outer image and they don't really like look at her music videos or like really hear the words or hear the underlying message, which I think is really interesting, because she's literally telling you like what she's trying, like she's literally telling you without telling you. Like, I don't know how much more clear you can be, but I don't know, maybe that's just me. Okay, so now on to criticism stuff. So the first thing I wanted to talk about was the Man's Best Friend album cover, which I don't even think is that bad. This is it if you haven't seen it. I really don't even think it's that bad. But this album cover has gotten so much criticism, and I don't even think it's bad. Like, it's really not bad at all. Like, I've seen worse. I'm actually gonna get into that in just a second, but some of the criticism that I've seen included about how it's overtly sexual and that it's terrible for her kid viewers. But reminder, Sabrina Carpenter's demographic is not children. She said it herself. Her albums literally have like whatever it says. That's like, this is explicit. Like, don't let your kids listen to this. But people are also mentioning that submissive kinks are gross and they only appeal to men and that they're inherently misogynistic. But I think people forget that it's okay for women to have kinks, and if it's submission, that's what it is, and it's a consensual act between Sabrina and whoever this man is in the cover, and I think that's okay. And people are also saying that it's setting feminism back in 20 years, but I feel like people don't understand. It's still a shtick. Sabrina isn't a satire. That's her whole gimmick. At least recently, it's been her whole gimmick. And when it comes to men and women and like sex, I mean, like, we have Bedchem and Juno. They're literally about having like sexy time in Juno positions, and like I just think that this album is just a continuation of what she's been talking about in her music. So I feel like it's not even that bad. And if you look at her album title and then her new single, Man's Best Friend, and then Man Child, like, it's appearing to appeal to the male gaze, but if you listen to Man-Child, you know that it's not appealing to that, or it's not appealing to that demographic, because that's not what she's trying to say. Like, we're critiquing these issues that, like, we're critiquing, like, the male gaze aspect, and, like, that's what Man-Child is kind of about. Hence, like, Man's Best Friend versus the song Man-Child. Like, obviously, they're oxymorons of each other, and I feel like people just want to dislike the album cover because it's easy to dislike. And not to sound like Curtis Connor, but Sabrina Carpenter's music is literally an iceberg of what she's showing you versus what she's actually trying to say. But don't look surface level. Take a second to think about that. So do I really think her album cover is that bad? No. But there have also been way worse album covers and songs that I feel like don't get nearly as many criticism because they're sung by men, or like they're male artists, and I feel like that's a point that Sabrina is trying to make here. But I don't know, I mean, is there a reason to be upset? I mean, there are songs that are literally, I mean, I was literally listening to Blurred Lines the other day because I was like, oh, I used to listen to the song as a kid. Oh my gosh, I should not have been listening to that at the age of 9. You Know You Want It. Like, it's inherently a song about rape culture, and that's not okay. It's talking about blurred lines regarding consent, and that's not okay. And like, yes, it has been critiqued nowadays, but when it first came out, that was not an issue. I mean, we've seen album covers like Party Next Door and LMFAO. Like, these are objectively objectifying women, and no one bats an eye. But when women express themselves the way they want to, they do get critiqued on, which I think is very interesting. And I understand the critiques. If you don't want to like that album cover, that's totally okay. I just don't think that, I think we have to keep the energy up for everything. If we're going to be critiquing that, then we should be critiquing every other album cover that could be seen as objectifying women. So the next criticism that I wanted to get into was the Juno poses, and more specifically, Paris Juno pose. So if you were at the internet at all during this past year while Sabrina was on tour for Short and Sweet, then you definitely know about the Juno poses. It was a staple. That was why people went. People wanted the clip of the Juno pose to post. People were making posters on Etsy of every night's Juno pose. And if you don't know what the Juno pose is, essentially, so she has a song called Juno, and she goes, "Have you ever tried this one?" And then she does like a sex pose. Like that was like the shtick. And then when I went to see her, I was in pit, so you would think that I would have gotten a good view, but the moment Juno started and they knew that part was coming, everyone's phones were up. I literally had to look behind me to see what was happening because everyone's phones were covering like where she was, which I think is really funny. I'll see if I can find the clip that I took. But yeah, so when this first started, it was fun. I mean, there were some critiques. Some of the comments were mostly about how it was gross, it was disgusting, and it was hypersexual, and her target demographic is children. But as I said earlier, her target demographic is not children. Like I said, her albums have the explicit tag. Were children at her concert? Yes. Do children listen to her? Yes. But that is an unintentional consequence. I would never blame a child for being ignorant or listening to whatever music is popular on social media. They have unrestricted access to phones and social media. So that's not really their fault. It's more of the parents' duty to be careful what their children are being exposed to. And of course, that's not easy, especially nowadays when it is so easily to get distracted and hard to keep track of what your parents are or what your children are watching. And that's fine, but it's also not on Sabrina to cater her show to an audience that she's not targeting to. Like, if her audience that she's catering to is 18 plus, that's her prerogative, that's her show. She knows that what she's trying to target. Like, she knows what her target audience is. If there's an unintentional audiences that are getting attracted to it, that's not on her to change her show. At least in my opinion, it's not irresponsible. I mean, it's kind of on the parents to know what concert they're taking their kid to, or if this is something that they want their children exposed to, especially when they've seen maybe her album covers or her explicit tag on her albums. I feel like that's kind of a big sign. Like, it may not be for your 8-year-old daughter, but if a parent wants to take their kid there and they are aware of it, then that's up to the parent. That is not up to anyone else except for the parent and their child. But I think one of the biggest controversies that happened with the Juno pose was Paris. I can't remember which night it was, but she did the Eiffel Tower. It's a position, and she did it in Paris, which personally kind of iconic. But once again, people were upset and disgusted, and they were the same people that were upset at Sabrina Carpenter for doing a Halloween position, which was just her going boo. She didn't really do anything. People were really upset at that. People were upset that she didn't do an actual pose. They're like, well, what a ripoff, like, we came to the show for this. Those are the same ones that got upset at that. But I think she's done crazy poses before, so I don't know why it was so crazy to do the Eiffel Tower, especially with her being in Paris. It made the most sense. But then again, what do I know? What do I know? I am but a girl. I am but a girl, and I only have thoughts and opinions. But so the second criticism that I wanted to touch on was the Lolita photo shoot, or a photo shoot that Sabrina did that highly resembled a photo from the movie Lolita. If you don't know the movie Lolita, or even the book, it's basically about an older man who falls in love with a young girl. So it's not good, essentially. So Sabrina had this photo taken, and the similarities are uncanny. They're very, very similar. So I completely understand where the criticism comes from. I did see another video, and I'll post it right here as a screen recording since it was a photo slide, but the creator makes a good point. There have been other artists that have done photo shoots that are quite similar to this one that Sabrina did, and I completely understand where this criticism comes from, but those other artists didn't receive the same criticism. Now, of course, that doesn't mean that because they didn't receive criticism that it makes it any better or worse. It is just interesting that other photo shoots of similar style just didn't get the same feedback that Sabrina's photo shoot did. And then I also saw an explanation regarding the photographer's decision on this photo shoot. The photographer seems to have a theme of water and nature and just being in tune with one another. it's not impossible that it just ended up being quite similar to a photo taken from Lolita, so it's completely understandable. It is valid criticism to both the photographer and Sabrina if it was inspired by Lolita, but if it isn't, I think it's just an unfortunate resemblance to an unfortunate storyline. So it's completely valid, and valid criticism that I think should be taken by both the photographer and Sabrina and other artists that have done it. But out of all criticisms, this one makes the most sense to me. Once again, I can't say whether or not this photo shoot was inspired by Lolita or whether it was just an unfortunate resemblance to an unfortunate storyline. But I don't really know, but I did want to bring this one up because that is a pretty big criticism that's starting to come up right now on social media, so I just wanted to give my 2 cents on that. It is valid criticism. If it's a recreation, I don't condone that. If it's not, then it's just an unfortunate resemblance. So after all of that being said, there's definitely probably more criticisms. These are just the ones that I saw the most on social media recently. I think I have one conclusion. I feel like people just like to hate successful women. And of course, that's not to say that criticism isn't hate, but if we're being overtly nitpicky on every single thing an artist does, then I think we are just bordering a line of just not liking that person. And we do see the same thing when it comes to Taylor Swift. People love to hate her, but are the criticisms that she gets valid? Yeah, but people also just dislike her to dislike her, which I don't think is fair. Same thing happens with Chappell Roan. Are the criticisms against her valid? 100%, but people like to hate on her, especially when they start to become more and more popular. People loved Chappell Roan, and then she messed up, and then everyone turned their backs on her, and it's okay to critique your favorite artists. There's nothing wrong with criticism, but a lot of times it isn't criticism, it's just being angry that they did something wrong. And I think we have to remember that these are still people, and yes, they are in the eyes of the public, but they're also people, and yes, they should be careful, but we just can't expect normal people to be perfect representations of every single belief and moral that we hold, because they are just people, and I think people tend to forget that. And maybe I'm on the wrong side of the internet. I don't feel like I see the same criticism towards male artists, except for those that are actually like criminal offensive people. But like Harry Styles, my Pookie Wookie, my beloved, I've been a fan of him since I was 6. I feel like people don't hate on him the same way that people hate on female artists. And if they are, maybe I'm just not seeing it, so maybe I'm just on the wrong side of the internet, unfortunately. But I mean, it happens. I think it's just a weird time right now, but we just don't see male artists getting the same criticisms or angry hordes of people the same way that we see towards female artists. And that, once again, all of the criticisms that we've touched on in this video, I understand their point and the message that these people are trying to express, but I just don't necessarily agree with these criticisms, but I completely understand where they're coming from. And I think that these critiques are coming from a place of concern, maybe for the children that are on the internet, or maybe for other people's children on the internet, so I completely understand. But I just think that people like to rally together to dislike women, but not in the same way that people rally together to dislike men. And I think that that's a conversation that needs to be had, because it's something that I've noticed. I'm a big fangirl, so I'm a fan of both male and female artists, and I just don't see the same groups of criticism occurring to each side, which I just think is quite interesting. Just to get off my soapbox for a second, I just think we need to be a bit more aware of how we treat women artists, because it is really frustrating as a girl, as a woman, to see my favorite artist get critiqued for something that I don't really think is that necessary to get critiqued on. It's okay to not like something, and it's okay to express that, but it's always just overtly critical. But I don't know, maybe it's because I'm passionate about like women in the media and women in business in particular. But I don't know, I guess we'll see what happens when her album comes out. Are we right? Is it really a satirical stance on men and women? I don't know. I'm excited to find out. I love Sabrina. I'm looking forward to this album. I've loved Man-Child since it came out. I've been doing the TikTok dance. But yeah, I'm not sure if I'll ever make another video like this. I like to make comedy videos. I don't know. I don't know if you would categorize it as comedy, but I like yapping about things that are stupid, that are going on in the world, like the Nikki Blonsky situation, or making stupid little vlogs. If this video does well, maybe I'll do more videos on topics that I care a lot about. Let me know if this was something that you enjoyed. Please let me know in the comments if there's something I missed or something that you maybe disagree with and maybe have another perspective on it. I'd love to hear. This is a conversation. This is not trying to be like a hate towards anyone that disagrees with Sabrina. These are just things that I thought about. But yeah, if you want to see more of this, let me know. If you want to see more of my other videos, let me know. But thanks for listening, and I'll see you guys later. Bye!
Yo.